Good evening and welcome to Celebrate Southern Africa. My name is Dawn Denton and today we are celebrating National Women's Day 2023. And the theme for today is resilience. The definition is about capacity to withstand or to recover quickly from difficulties, toughness, elasticity, that stretch that we have as a woman. And you are going to hear some amazing insights and inspiration from these women this evening. And they're going to have another difficulty. They only have 5 minutes to speak. Why 5 minutes? Because the French mathematician and philosopher Blaise Pascal said, if I had more time, I would have written a shorter letter. Because it's not easy. It's not easy to share your passion, knowledge in only a short space of time. But what it does do is it focuses your message. I am constantly inspired by women around the world. Yes, I am inspired by men as well, but women have had a lot more to contend with. They have had glass ceilings to smash and so much more to overcome. And women in Africa are the pillars of society. Women have a special connection with the world. We give birth to humans and ideas. We nurture families and concepts, and we are the glue that brings communities together. But throughout history and across the globe today, women have faced struggles. And we are going to be celebrating those women who don't have a voice and have not found their place in the world or the safe space to be who they want to be. But this is an invitation for men too. We can't do this alone. We need you on this journey with us. We need you to support us, to fly the flag and fight our corner. And one of my biggest inspirations is the president of Liberia, the ex-president of Liberia, who said, her name is Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, and she also sent out a request. To girls and women everywhere, I issue a simple invitation. My sisters, my daughters, my friends, find your voice. So tonight, our first voice is going to be Pumela. But I'm just going to let Natalie in, and I'm just going to explain to Natalie what she needs to do. Hi, Natalie. Hi, Natalie.
Oh, hello.
Right, so we are live. So I've just done the intro, so I'm going to need you to, when the others are speaking, to turn your video off and your audio, and as soon as I introduce you, turn your camera on, and then you can go for your talk. But our first speaker is going to be Pumela Salela. I practiced this. Pumela Salela, and we are going to, and Pumela is going to be sharing her insights. Now, what's really interesting about Pumela is that she calls herself a visionary catalyst. She helps individuals, organizations, and countries ignite their spark and fuel their fire. So tonight, Pumela is going to be talking about vision as a form of resilience. So thank you, Pumela.
Thank you, Dawn. I just want to start by sharing a poem by Marianne Williamson, and this poem is called A Return to Love. The poem goes, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light and not our darkness that frightens us the most. We ask ourselves, who am I to be gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightening about shrinking so that other people will not feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It is not just in some of us, it is in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give others permission to do the same. And as we are liberated from our own fears, our presence automatically liberates others. So I'm sharing this poem because there is power in us identifying who we are, the strengths that we have, the abilities that we have, so that we can use these to navigate the world and the challenges that it brings. When I go through challenges, when I go through difficulties, I remember who I am. I remember what I stand for. I remember my values. I remember my vision. I remember the future that I have envisioned for myself, and that helps me to stand and withstand and go through whatever life throws at me. And that is resilience. I see vision and resilience as a strong tree that is very deep in its roots and clearly focused in its future. Can you picture a tree looking up and really not being shaken and standing and being focused in its future, so that whatever winds may come, they will not shake the tree. It will not fall. Winds may come, storms may come, but the tree will not fall. Yes, it will be shaken, but it will not crush. And this applies to individuals, to organizations, and to countries, as it were. Resilience is the capacity to withstand and to be able to recover quickly from difficulties. And so simply put, resilience is the ability to bounce back from adversity, to adapt and to grow stronger despite difficult circumstances. That we came out of COVID-19 pandemic years shows resilience. I remember the two words that were actually prominent during the period. They were agile and pivot. And we were being forced actually during that time to be resilient. Personally, I used that time to craft a sharper vision for myself and the future that lies ahead of me. I used that time to get back to self, to understand and to heal my childhood wounds. And so crafting a vision and being resilient requires us to grow in one way or another. And we can only grow if we visit those parts of ourselves that are uncomfortable. Hence, I themed 2020 the year of back to self, more like a return to love, like the poem that I have just shared. And being resilient also requires healing from some of the trauma and the pain that we have gone through, so that in the end, we are able to be better versions of ourselves, so that our future does not get determined nor deterred by our past, particularly those parts of our past that make us feel uncomfortable. And I say that in turn allows us to be resilient. And vision is the ability to think about and to plan the future with imagination or wisdom. Vision goes beyond mere ambition and goal setting. It's about creating a compelling mental image of a desirable future. I remember when I was at school, in my diary, I used to write, if you can dream it, you can achieve it. And so a vision becomes a guiding light, a compass that steers our actions and our decisions. And when we have a clear and inspiring vision, we can find purpose and we can find meaning in our pursuits. It starts with knowing yourself. And if you don't know yourself, it's about finding yourself. And we can each embark on that journey. It goes with trusting yourself, and it goes with being certain that that which you see for yourself will manifest itself no matter what. In that way, nothing can stand in your way, and that allows you to be resilient. When we set a vision for ourselves, we are able to overcome obstacles. And I remember again that obstacles are the things that we see as soon as we take our eyes off our goals. Let me repeat that. Obstacles are the things that you see when you take your eyes off your goals. And so when we set a vision for ourselves, we're able to bounce back. When you set a vision for ourselves, when the going gets tough, we become the tough ones that get going. Another word for resilience, incidentally, is toughness. But for me, not feeling the pain. It's about acknowledging the pain and navigating through the pain. And in conclusion, resilience. By cultivating it, we can adapt, we can change, and we can create generations. So thank you for your attention, and let us remember that our visions are not just dreams, but they are the blueprint for a more resilient and hopeful tomorrow. Let us go out there and make it happen.
Oh, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Pumela. Thank you. Thank you. The word that I remember from the pandemic was Zoom. Our next speaker, can you all hear me, or is my internet gone?
I can hear you, Dawn.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Perfect.
So our next speaker is Natalie King. Natalie is an introvert who loves country music and the sound of rain. I can so agree with that. After many years of bullying and having lost herself and her voice, she found out that confidence was the key to creating change and taking back her life. Now she helps others to connect with their own superpower of confidence and step into their own power. And Natalie lives by heart-led resilience. So thank you, Natalie. You're on mute.
Did you know that we have three brains? The brain, the gut, and the heart. And it is the heart brain that I want to talk to you about today. What is heart? Heart is connection, community, Ubuntu, love, passion, caring, kindness. And the heart is where we feel emotions. And what does it mean to be resilient? At the end of the day, resilience means different things to different people. And here is one definition. Resilience is the ability to recover from unexpected change in life setbacks or traumatic loss. And trauma is the catalyst to resilience. When you transform from trauma, you build resilience. And trauma creates the need to heal from damage that trauma leaves in our lives. Just look at the past 3 years, the trauma that has impacted everyone's lives globally. Also, think back to your past when you experienced trauma. And trauma does not have to be something big. Trauma is any unexpected change that happens. So trauma is big and small. There are various ways that you can build resilience, but today I want to share with you the language of the heart, known as heart-led resilience. What is language of the heart? It's your emotions. You have an impact on your heart. Therefore, looking after your heart is really, really important. Stress, which causes the fight or flight symptom, which increases cortisol, which increases your heartbeat. And this signals the brain that there is chaos going on. Negative emotions such as sadness, anger, depression can also impact the way that your heart beats, which can impact your mood and brain. And this leads you back to that stress hormone, cortisol. But the good news is that positive emotions such as joy, love, compassion, gratitude, kindness can slow down your heartbeat, which in turn increases your mood and brain function. And oxytocin, the happy hormone, is produced. When you create positive emotions and increase your mood and slow down your heart rate, you decrease your stress levels and start to build heart-led resilience. When you experience positive emotions, you are creating resilience in your heart. And this is the key to resilience in life. So that when there's change happening in your life, you are better able to deal with it and have the resilience to keep going. And here are a few tips that I would like to share with you. Build connections. Ubuntu. As South Africans, we know what Ubuntu is. Building connections is all about connecting with your emotions, who you are. Connecting with others stops you from feeling lonely and instead helps you to feel connected. And when you connect with others, you create oxytocin, that happy hormone. And this dispels the loneliness. And instead, you start to build healthy, strong relationships. Take care of your heart. What exercises are you doing? What emotions are you feeling? What food are you eating? Look after your heart, because remember, there's that third brain, which is in your heart. Practice gratitude. Gratitude can be anything from a gratitude diary, from just every day, just thinking, what am I grateful for? Because remember, gratitude lowers your stress levels, increases oxytocin, and helps you to have heart-led resilience. Though having resilience, or through having resilience, you will feel strong enough to keep trying, keep persevering despite setbacks. And I want to leave you with this quote. Life does not get easier or more forgiving. We get stronger and more resilient. Remember to allow your heart to lead you to resilience.
Oh, thank you so much, Natalie. Thank you very, very much. Hearts, big hearts. That's what we need. Our next speaker is Karen van der Pol. And Karen is a leadership and relationship coach with an unsatiated interest in emotional intelligence as key to healthy development of oneself and encouragement to others. And Karen's going to speak about one step closer, putting all theory about resilience into practice. So thank you, Karen.
Thank you, Dawn. You know what? Mother's Day gets me into trouble every year. I have mothers in different countries and the date's not the same. They don't coincide. And I actually never realized that National Women's Day and International Women's Day were in fact two celebrations until Dawn contacted us. But how fitting. In fact, I would challenge every one of us to celebrate another woman every day of the year. National and International Women's Day draws attention to significant issues women have faced and still face with regards to inequality. I am biased, but African women are awesome. I do wonder if our resilience, although by no means fair or just, is a result of our unjust society. And we are strong because we have no choice. I salute the women that went before us, for they have laid the foundation and example. And we are because they kept going and refused to give up. I feel humbled to sit amongst these women who share their stories of survival and inspired to see them thrive despite unfairness and challenges in this world. Taken from the inspiration of others, I too had to dig deep on more than one occasion in my life. But nothing could have prepared me for the journey I had to take alongside my son after he had an accident in 2018, leaving him paralyzed and what seemed at the time confused as to what lay ahead in the future. Resilience is embedded in my journey as a coach. And in May 2018, I was challenged to put theory into practice. I learned firsthand watching my son from a hospital bed for 4 months and then walking alongside him for another year of rehabilitation, what resilience really looked like. And amazing, I learned this through my son. There's 3 tips, I think. There's so many things that we can say about resilience, but there's 3 things that stood out in this journey for me. And I want to touch on to them tonight and just color it in a little bit, because often people tell us this is what we need to do, or we kind of get the instruction, but we don't really know how to. Number 1, focus on what you can control. Easier said than done. Sander he simply fell from a tree. Like any African boy, he climbs a tree. His foot slipped and he fell and landed in hospital. And it was within the first 24 hours that the consultant said to us that we need to prepare ourselves, for he will never walk again. He was then challenged to lie flat in a bed for 6 weeks, but turned out to be 8 weeks, and staring at a ceiling, we had to feed him, we had to do absolutely everything for him. He couldn't turn around, he needed the help for absolutely everything. He was 19 at this point. He was also in his first year studying medicine at university. And at that point in time, everything seemed dark and he was in such pain. And day in and day out, lying, staring at a ceiling, not knowing which way to go, fighting off depression. He literally came to light one morning saying, "That's it. I have not fallen on my head." When the accident happened, he was literally 3-4 weeks away from exam time. He said, "I have not fallen on my head. I cannot move. I cannot eat. I cannot do anything for myself, but I have a brain." And he challenged us to bring his books, bring everything, set up something, and he was going to write exams. He didn't know whether the university would accept him back. He didn't know whether he was going to be able to continue his medical studies. But he took control of the only thing at that point in time he was able to take control of. And being a family of faith, there is something that resonates as well. And that is scripture in the Bible that says, do not worry about the worries of tomorrow. Focus on today. So when it comes to the things that we can control, there's two aspects to it. It's timing, and it is really searching hard, not beyond ourselves, but what can we do in the moment to better our circumstances? And at that point in time, he had a brain and he had time to study. So he wrote those exams. It was amazing. He passed with such great marks as well, which was testament to a testament to him and just his resilience to do just the one thing that he had to do in his control. The second thing that, and Natalie has touched onto this as well, is the power of community and connection. We live in a day and age today where we are really being taught to rely on ourselves a lot. Everything lies within us. And it's so not true. I don't think we were created to walk alone. We were created to function as a community, to function as people holding hands together, to work together. That means putting aside your pride and accepting help when help is offered. I cannot tell you how many people came into our lives within that span of a year. People we knew, people we didn't even know, who reached out, and some people helping in a big way and some people helping in a small way. It is not what you have to give, but what you are willing to give that matters. Some people could merely pick up our ironing and help us with the washing, and some people would take the dog for a walk, and some people had bigger stuff and time to give. So when the world is hurting around you, reach out and help and do what you can. Give that little bit that you are able to. Don't sit back and say, it's too big for me, and how insignificant will my contribution be? Because it's the sum total of everybody's contribution that keeps a society, keeps a society's hands lifted up. I also always say that it is sometimes it is your turn to carry the burden, and sometimes it is your turn to come around other people and lighten the burden that they need to carry. But taking a step or two even further back to that is, you go, well, how does this thing happen? And how do you have so many people in your community that's daring and helping and willing to reach out and come and help you? The reality is it starts way back. It starts with an attitude. When we hurt, and the interesting thing is we all hurt at different times of our lives, although other people seem to be all okay. But when we hurt, give out a helping hand and sow the seeds of being connected and being in a community at all times. I really warn people against isolation, because that is really where you get caught, and when you find absolutely no power and only reliant on yourself. And the last thing that I looked at Zander when went through this journey is how he challenged his perspective. He lay in that bed and he couldn't move. He didn't know what his future would look like. But I saw daily how he slowly started becoming more curious by suppressing his fear, by asking the question, well, what would this life look like? How can this happen? How different can I do things? And I'm still in awe. We are 5 years post his accident. And just last week, I let him go on, well, didn't let him. He's now 25 years old. He can do what he wants. But as his mom, I'm always fearful of, oh, is he going to survive? But he's gone on a 3-month adventure all by himself with his girlfriend, who, by the way, is an amputee. We joke between the two of them, they have only one functioning leg, but they are traveling the whole of Africa and then going up to Australia. He's just passed his medical exams. He took the first step 5 years ago and said, still have my brain, I can write these exams. So I watched firsthand through the challenges that my son went through, of all the stuff and the theory that I practiced and I preached to them when they were kids growing up. And I was proud to see him grabbing it and making it real for him in his own life. And for me as the mom, I just have 2 things that I want to share with you that really boosts my resilience. And one is laughter. My husband gave me a quote the other day, and it was so fitting. Our family laughs a lot at ourselves and at our situations. It breaks the ice. Laughter is like the windscreen wipers. It does not stop the storm, but allows you to see in order to continue. And then lastly, love. Love hard. Because you know when you are loved and everybody loves you and you love everyone, that is where bravery comes from.
Thank you so much, Karen, for sharing such a touching story. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Next up, we have June Whiteman. And with a lot of courage, June and her family relocated to the Isle of Man in 2001. And there is nothing like moving to another country to test your resilience. She's had many roles and she's learned loads of new skills, but there's always been a willingness to get up when you get knocked down. And today, June is a virtual executive assistant, but transitioning into a small scale flower farmer. And she put very in brackets, very small. But small is, well, the size is not what's important. It's the flowers, June. It's the flowers. June's talk tonight is about a story of resilience across a change in location, lifestyle, and career. So thank you, June.
Thank you, Dawn. Adapting to change requires resilience and focus. And we are by nature resilient, and we need to be in order to survive. We left South Africa in 2001. And I had to be resilient with 2 teenage daughters in tow. My husband stayed in South Africa whilst we settled ourselves here. And I had to get back into the job market after many years of being a house help my husband with our family business at home. But it's a different thing when you've got to gird your loins and go around all the employment agencies. But I morphed, I bobbed, I weaved, I made a plan to support the family. And we did. And resilience is required in whatever role, whatever change in role there is. And scroll forward to 2016, and I became a virtual assistant working from home. And that's when I think it was around that time that, or shortly afterwards, that I met Dawn. But it was whilst I was working, and it just seems to be every day, all day at my desk, and I needed something to get me up and away and out into the fresh air. To know myself, I needed to nurture and grow something bigger than myself. So I chose one of the smallest life forms. I chose seeds. I chose to sow seeds. And it was around that time that the universe stepped in and I read an article about a Scottish flower farmer. It was around that time that, I was looking at this article and I saw how her beautiful garden billowing with flowers, and I felt my heart beat faster and my gut tighten, and I realized I wanted to grow flowers too. So I took it on to find out more, did some research and discovered Flowers from the Farm, which is a collective of flower growers throughout the UK. And they are a wonderful group of people who are willing to share their knowledge, their expertise, and their experience. And I had no idea flowering was such a big thing. But what a wonderful affirmation it was when our king chose to have just locally grown flowers for his coronation. That was a very special moment for me. Not everyone sees the importance of buying locally grown flowers, but I urge you to be mindful when you next purchase a bunch of supermarket flowers. Look at the label. It might say locally grown, it might say grown in Britain, but look a little bit further. Are they in season? And they might be somewhere in the world, but they might not necessarily be British seasonal flowers. Be better informed when you make your choices. A rose grown in Kenya, apart from the cost of the air miles, needs 9 liters of water per rose. Water that is diverted from the local community in an area where water is scarce. A rose in Holland, grown in Holland by comparison, may require less air miles, but is more expensive as it is grown under glass and consumes more energy. Think about buying local flowers. Local growers make buying flowers easy. So many of them have a subscription service where you sign up and you get your flowers weekly, monthly, twice a month. Buy from a farmer close to you. And what's so good about Flowers from the Farm is that they have a directory of all the flower growers in the UK. So you can find somebody who grows close to you. And if you happen to be in South Africa, there's some fantastic little growers too. Worth having a look. Please don't use floral foam. It disintegrates, and all of that plastic will end up in our oceans sooner or later. And I learned recently that the eco-friendly version is even worse because it creates harmful emissions as it disintegrates. I found a bunch of twigs in a vase, creates all the support that your flowers need. You don't need floral foam. Growing flowers has given me a whole new meaning, or resilience, a whole new meaning. And I'm endeavoring to grow in an environmental way, and I'm learning that I need to look after the soil. Soil needs to withstand extremes of too much rain, too little rain, too much heat, too much cold. It's important that you keep your soil covered. Bare soil means loss of carbon, and we all know that we need to sequester carbon. You may have heard of the no-dig method of gardening, which has been made popular by Charles Dowding. It conserves energy, both yours and that trapped in the soil. The less you disturb the soil and the microbes that live in it, the better. If you don't do it already, grow your own. It's good for you for so many reasons. So to recap, be mindful of your choices when buying flowers. Actively seek out your local flower farmers and support them. And please don't use floral foam. Grow your own. It's good for you and the little creatures that enjoy the habitat that they live in. Our planet is resilient and will bounce back as it did during COVID. But I'd like to leave you with this quote. The Earth is 4.6 billion years old. Let's scale that to 46 years. We've been here for 4 hours. Our industrial revolution began 1 minute ago, and in that time, we've destroyed more than 50% of the world's forests. Thank you for this opportunity to share my story.
Oh, thank you, June. That's food for thought. Thank you so much. Next up, we have Hayley Reichert, and she is a mortgage and protection or life insurance advisor and a South African campaigner. So she's done almost everything when you think about campaigner. She was on the committee to organize the UK-based Nedbank SA Charity Golf Day. She's been on the South African Chamber Executive Committee. She's been on the Democratic Alliance Abroad Committee and the Home Away from Home Repatriation, as well as been involved with Project Lisa, which is Locked in SA, that assisted over 40,000 displaced South Africans during COVID. And she's been on the exco of the Move 1 Million initiative and played a key role in assisting 100 South Africans and 50 relatives to flee the Ukraine at the start of the Russian invasion, amongst other things. I don't know where she has the time. But Hayley's talk is about feeling the fear.
Thanks, Dawn. So according to the online Cambridge Dictionary, resilience is the ability to be happy or successful again after something difficult or bad has happened. So what makes someone resilient? Well, having the capacity to adapt to continual change, which requires a certain level of elasticity to one's thoughts, words, and actions. It's about understanding that there is an event over which we have no control, to which we add our response, over which we do have full control, which creates the outcome. To become more resilient, we have to get really comfortable with being uncomfortable. The more we step out of our comfort zone, the easier it becomes to think more strategically, speak up louder, react quicker, and ultimately to take up more space in the world around us. We must become conscious about how we face even the tiniest of our fears, as well as how we go about organizing our daily being, and then practice it. Just like a toddler learning how to get ready every morning, those thinking and doing building blocks are critical. I personally love watching internationally renowned speaker Mel Robbins with her little nuggets of wisdom that pop up on my Instagram feed. And I often find myself thinking, yes, Mel, that is exactly what I need to be doing. If only I can remember to implement that in the moment that I need to, right? So how do we actually do it? Retaining the information and building on it over time to develop the habits that we want to achieve is a very slow and frustrating process. Now, I have a confession to make. I am a huge procrastination queen. And by huge, I really do mean huge. And a lot of people who think they know me would probably say, oh, please, whatever. You're a single working mom of 2. You do all this extra stuff to help South Africans around the world. You are so organized. But remember how I said that to become resilient, we must learn to be conscious about how we organize our daily being. Well, I'm 37 years old and I'm still learning how to do that. For me personally, it is a continuous daily cycle of facing the fear. What do I mean by that? Functional freeze, engage, action, repeat. That functional freeze can be a split-second moment of processing what needs to be done before moving into the engage and action steps. Or it can be a very big, oh poo, I literally do not know what to do moment, which requires a little bit more time before our brains can process the situation. Just like we've all faced our fears through things like our first day of school or even our first kiss, every new and even sometimes repeated situations requires our brain to do exactly this, to face the fear. You know that saying, everything you've ever wanted is on the other side of fear. To achieve anything, we have to move from where we are in our comfort zone to where we want to be. And in order to do that, we have to face our fear. So that initial functional freeze stage will often bring up questions like, why am I feeling like I'm in flight or fight mode? What is triggering me and why? What false truths do I believe about myself that's putting me in this freeze and stopping me from moving forward? Once we've processed that functional freeze part, we can then engage in the matter a bit more. And that's where we work out what needs to be done. What are the steps that I need to take? Then an important step in moving from engage to action is giving ourselves a much needed boost in confidence or positive reinforcement. So I'll ask myself, what have I already achieved or overcome in my life that proves these thoughts wrong? Perhaps it's remembering when you moved out of home and you learned to fend for yourself for the first time, or maybe standing up to your boss because you realize you deserve to be treated better. You remind yourself that even though this challenge is different to the ones you've experienced before, the psychological battle of moving from being stuck in your head to putting things into motion is often much the same. Only then can we move into the action or the doing part. And when you get those first few actions done, you start realizing, hang on, actually, this isn't so bad. I can keep doing this. And then it's literally repeat, repeat, repeat. As a good friend of mine once said, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. It's about breaking down and understanding the process involved in taking ourselves from that functional freeze state of fear through consistent action towards which basically rewires our brain towards resilience. So in becoming resilient, it takes courage to face our fears. In other words, courage is fear management. Fear is only damaging when it dictates our behavior. So we have to go through this process of acknowledging and accepting the fear, inviting it in and getting used to how it feels. Remember, the more comfortable we are with being uncomfortable, the more we deepen our resilience. Remember, everything that you've ever wanted is on the other side of fear. So I encourage you to consistently go out there and face your fear.
Thank you so much, Hayley. All I can think about is eating the poor elephant. Thank you so much. Really actionable steps to take. Our next speaker is also a Hayley, and her name is Hayley Joy Weinberg. For as long as she can remember, she dreamed of making a difference. She also dreamed of making beautiful clothes, and she could never have imagined that you could combine the two. But if you did, it would determine her destiny, which it exactly did. And today, as a size-inclusive fashion designer, she specializes in real plus sizes and is inspired to make a difference in the lives of the forgotten woman. And that's exactly what Hayley's going to talk about, designing fashion for the forgotten woman, all shapes and all sizes. Thank you, Hayley.
Thanks so much, Dawn. So, you know, when you pitched the idea of resilience being the theme, it came to me that some days my second name should be resilience and not joy, because my journey of resilience, it's a daily reality. Like, as I strive to make a difference in the lives of all these forgotten women, and I refer to them as forgotten women because in 2023, literally, it is still going on. The body shaming, the nobody wants to talk about plus, nobody wants to be a part of plus. And I often wonder, like, will it ever change? And for a very long time, I really strived to make a point. And then one day I just got a very clear message that, and I think it was actually another day that I was introduced as the lady who makes the fat clothes. And yes, that is a real thing. It happens. And I used to get very defensive and I used to want to fight. And then I just got a message, like a clear message, must have been a universal intervention, that you can't change them. You can only change how you respond to the situation. So take this bad situation and make something good out of it. And it was a huge turning point for me, because basically what I did was I just went on a mission to design, and we manufacture our own fashion collections. So design and manufacture the most fabulous plus size clothing, and don't give a damn about size. I'm only interested in the shape. I don't care what your size is. So originally, we only went up to a 3XL, and I got another very clear message that I needed to take that further. I needed to include all women of all sizes. So today we size from a small, because I have many small regular size women who like the handwriting. So I designed for them, and I go up to a 7XL. My commitment is that no woman will ever be turned away and told, oh no, sorry, but in that collection, we only go to a 3XL. Everything has to be able to be scaled to a 7XL. And COVID was a huge turning point for me. I basically came home and sat for a week and reevaluated everything. And there was something that had been niggling for a long time around this trying to shoot for stars that I was never going to reach. And it was in that quiet time of sitting and basically reevaluating everything that I came to understand that I just needed to build a community of women who knew that there was somebody that really cared about them, not about the money they were going to spend, not about who they were, how famous they were, how not famous they were. None of that mattered. What mattered was there was somebody who cared about them. And I went on a very, very profound journey to turn everything around and make my role in the business one of fun. So I let go of a lot of what I was doing because, you know, the control freak side of things. And I handed all of that kind of stuff over to my team. And I started to have fun with my community. And today, I have to say that the last 2 years, I took all of what I learned during the pandemic and I've put it into action, and I am having the best time ever. I always say, I don't go to work every day. I go to a playground and I just have the hugest fun, and I'm finding all new and wonderful ways to market to my community, but in this very niche way, because they are a very niche audience. And in closing, to share with you what my greatest joy is in my journey of resilience in this niche market. My greatest joy is having a conversation with a client where she tells me that pre-buying from Hayley Joy, whenever she got invited to an event, she would go into a complete panic around the fact that she just had nothing to wear. And now she goes to her wardrobe and she opens her wardrobe and she talks to her wardrobe and she says, you tell me who I'm going to wear to that function. And I just listened to that and I was like, my job is done. So I am very blessed. I've been in this game 38 years. I still love every single minute of it. And yeah, I make a difference in the lives of women who are forgotten. That's clearly my calling, and it is a very, very special journey to be on. And thank you for having me, Dawn.
Thank you so much, Hayley. Really, really loved hearing your story. The pandemic really was a turning point for a lot of people. Next up, we have Eugenie Drakes, and she is driven by curiosity and creativity, a passion for people, culture, and tradition. And this has given her a wealth of experience. Today, she shares her experience and wisdom with entrepreneurs and those seeking new direction, and she is known as the midwife of people's dreams. Isn't that gorgeous? Her dream is to see more and more women stand tall and own the impact their activities and responsibilities have on the world. And today, she's going to be speaking about impact. Thank you very much.
Thank you. My name is Eugenie Drakes. I live in Johannesburg, South Africa, and I'm a 52-year-old pensioner. When I was invited to speak today, I went to Dr. Google and typed the word woman, and this is the definition that I got. The woman plays a role in the family as a wife, a partner, an organizer, a director, a recreator, a distributor, a manager, and a disciplinarian. In addition, women also play a key role in society's socio-economic development. As a wife, she's expected to serve her husband, prepare food, clothing, and other personal needs. As a mother, she has to take care of the children and their needs, including education. As a worker, she has to be professional, disciplined, and a good employee. In August 2023. Well, clearly, I am not a good woman. So let me introduce yourself from my reality and not the above box. My name is Eugenie Drakes, and I have a piece of paper that states my current age is 72. Some mornings when I wake up, my body says, today we are 85, but my spirit remains 35, and I consider myself a recycled teenager. I am blessed to have lived a very full life with great journeys, positive and negative experiences, and I am loving being an elder as I am able to share the wisdom I have garnered over the years with future leaders. This helps them connect to their potential, step into their power, and lead the change that will positively impact their futures and those of my grandchildren. I was named the midwife for people's dreams by a community I worked with, and I wear this with great pride. Working in rural and urban communities in Southern Africa for almost 30 years, I've been privileged to experience and observe the innate strength of women from many different walks of life, and the one thread that is common to all is resilience. Living and working my life on Mother Africa and working with her people, I know that the strength of this continent is in her women. It does not matter how many how little so many have. They manage with what they have to survive and thrive in their context, despite the challenges they face. I believe that what motivates and enables them to do this is because their strong focus and drive is for the survival of their families and communities. What I have seen in my journey and in my work as a mentor, when we step out of the Dr. Google definition for women and own the impact that we have on others every day, it serves as a lighthouse to move towards. If we keep our eyes on the light, we are able to move through the darkness that the path we are on might put in front of us. We will be motivated and strengthened by the intuitive knowing of where we are headed. And with this is what fuels us to continue. The focus on the impact will give us the resilience to overcome the hardships in order to harvest the potential. It takes one to inspire one, and I've been continuously inspired by the strength and resilience of the many women I have worked with, from the struggle against apartheid to the current days where women's rights, GBV, and other challenges are so much part of their lives. Women are drawn to win-win solutions, and if our focus is on the challenges and not the impact, we lose before the journey has even started. This mindset was highlighted and inspired by an experience I had when I was selected to be a participant in the Goldman Sachs Global 10,000 Women program in 2013. When we were asked to introduce ourselves, one participant, tiny in stature, stood up and said, "My name is Nona Sokoto and I am a farmer," and she then sat down. I then discovered that she and her father own a farm in Standerton, a town that did not welcome Black people easily. In addition, they farmed with Ayrshire cattle and supplied milk to Woolworths, a high-end national chain of food stores, which is known for quality and not being easy to secure supplier licenses from. Today, her LinkedIn profile reads very differently, and I quote, "I am a self-motivated businesswoman who has built a remarkable career in the agricultural sector, focusing on primary agriculture, particularly in empowering youth, women, and new entrants in the agricultural sector. I leverage my financial services background together with my astute entrepreneurial skills to distinguish myself as a new breed of future agriculturalists in the development space nationally and globally." The difference between Nona's first introduction and her current profile is she has owned her strengths and her focus is on the impact that she has rather than what she does. My commitment to myself on this Women's Day is to review how, because this let me settle into the 72-year-old pensioner box or continue my mentoring journey where my reach will be much wider and growth much faster. In closing, I challenge you to review how you define yourself and to recognize and own the impact you have. Let this motivate you to spread the word to others so that together we can move forward with purpose, passion, and resilience, and together build a better future for all. Here's to strong women. May we know them, may we be them, and may we raise them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That is absolutely lovely. Thank you so much for sharing that story. Finally, we have Delight Mapasure, and she is an award-winning entrepreneur who successfully created a six-figure food brand from her kitchen table to retail shelves, despite facing many challenges. In 2016, the Zimbabwean-born and former Dragon's Den participant, yes, you might have remembered seeing her on Dragon's Den, co-founded Kay's Vors. And their first retail listing was with Ocado in 2019, and the brand has recently been launched in the UAE and has attracted attention in India. And today, Dee is also a resilience coach, and she believes very firmly that anything worth having is worth failing for. So over to you, Dee.
Thank you, Dawn. I just want to start by saying when I was invited to speak today, I almost asked Dawn if she could double the time, because my story cannot be told in the allocated time, nor can it be told in a day. My story is my life. I live my story each day. I am resilience. When they talk about resilience, I feel like they should put my picture next to that word in every dictionary, in every language, because I have walked the resilience journey. My story began in the rural areas of Zimbabwe, in Uzumba, where I come from. I remember vividly as a 7-year-old going to school barefoot and walking long distances. Nothing unusual if you come from that part of the world. However, as I grew, I decided that I'm not going to be an ambassador of poverty. I decided that the line of poverty ends with me. I decided that we should not glamorize poverty. We should not normalize poverty. And so I embarked on my journey of entrepreneurship. My first business, I own several businesses, but my most successful business began on my kitchen table in my home. I started my business on my kitchen table. I took my business idea to Dragon's Den in 2021, and I tried to get investment from the Dragons. Unfortunately, I didn't get the investment. But I turned that failure into success by gaining a listing in Costco Wholesale, a retailer currently valued at over $240 billion. So I took that failure into a success. And this is where my story about resilience really comes together. We cannot talk about resilience and not talk about failing, because from failure, that is where you develop resilience. If you do not fail, then there's not much resilience coming into play. So I feel these two are like twins that depend on each other. Each time you fail, you have to develop the ability to bounce back from that failure. And that ability to bounce back is what we call resilience. During my journey, I'll keep referring to my story so that you can really understand how resilience works. During my journey, starting my business, I made a total of 19 applications for funding that were all refused. I counted them one at a time, and you might wonder why I was actually counting and why I kept going back. The reason why I did that is because I kept thinking that if I could get right what was wrong on the last one, then the next one will probably be successful. And then even though it got declined, I kept thinking, why was it declined? That is how you approach failure. You need to reframe failure and see why you failed. If you identify why you failed, then you're most likely going to be successful on your next one. And unfortunately for me, it took 19 tries. But the reason why I kept going is because I had grown in resilience. I believed that each time I fell, I could pick myself up by identifying why I had failed. That is why I went 19 applications getting declined until I got to the 20th one, which was my lifeline. The 20th application for me was all about putting all of these failures into one jar and then deciding how I was then going to proceed so that I can succeed onto this one. It was also about identifying, about setting goals that were realistic and identifying the right people to now approach and talk to. Sometimes you have to change your approach. Sometimes you have to change the people that you're talking to, the people that you're targeting in order to achieve your end goal. And after doing all of that, I became successful on my 20th application, and that opened the door for retail. Once we were in retail, things started moving smoothly. However, I want to take you back on the art of resilience. I want to take you back on how you can develop resilience. You can develop resilience by reframing failure. Point number one, you have to take failure as a learning opportunity. So every time you fail, you must take that as a learning opportunity rather than a roadblock that stops you from that stops you from succeeding. So you need to picture failure as a learning opportunity. Number two, you need to see it as a stepping stone. So you need to see failure as a stepping stone. So each time I got declined, I kept thinking, well, I'm a step closer. And if you do it that way, then you're going to keep going regardless of how many times you get knocked down. Number three, you must continue working on your resilience. Continue building on your resilience by constantly asking yourself how much you want this. Number four, encouraging innovation. So you must always be innovative, change how you're doing things. It doesn't matter. For me, it was about funding. For you, it could be just about your life. It could be something that you're trying to create, but you should always be innovative, change things, because you cannot get a different result by doing the same thing over and over again. In order to achieve a different result, you need to change how you do things. And sometimes this could mean doing things that you're uncomfortable doing or stepping out of your comfort zone. You should also reduce the fear of failure. It has already been mentioned by one of the speakers that if you fear failing, then you're never going to make it. So you must learn to reduce the fear of failure. And how do we do this? We reduce the fear of failure by trying new things. Just do it. Just do it. Just go for it. Don't be afraid to try new things. Do not procrastinate. Do not step back, step in. We don't take a step back, we step in. That is how we succeed. So in conclusion, I just want to say from my story, from how I began from my kitchen table, going into retail and building a 6-figure business, you can see that I have been resilient throughout my journey. And I would like you to take the same lessons and take the art of failing fast, philosophy, embrace failure, and see failure as a stepping stone into success. Because you cannot fear failing and expect yourself to succeed. So in conclusion, I just want to say anything worth having is worth failing for, because I failed so many times, but I kept getting up. And here I am today sharing my story and hoping that you and I can join together on this journey of building our resilience, and so that we can keep going and achieve our goals. Thank you, Dawn.
Thank you so much. I hope number 20 is your lucky number. Can we all have the ladies back on the screen, please? That would be great. So thank you to you all for sharing your insights, your stories, your knowledge, your passion, your ideas. And thank you to all of you for joining us, wherever you are in the world. I know that you're probably also touched and moved by these amazing women sharing so much of themselves. And in the words of, again, one of my heroes, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, if your dreams do not scare you, they are not big enough. So go out there, dream big, share your story and be bold. And we'll be back here again in 2024. So thanks very much for joining us, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.